But again, at the top of the hour, this breaking news just moments ago, Florida shattering its coronavirus case record for a single day, and the numbers are staggering. The state reporting 15,300 new infections. It is the highest number on record, and it brings the state's total number of cases now to more than 269,000. NBC's Sam Brock is joining me now from Lake Buena Vista, Florida, wearing a mask, which is more important now than ever. Sam, with a welcome to you. Any sense of reaction from the officials and the people there to these pretty staggering new numbers?
Most people you talk to, Alex, their mouths drop when you tell them 15,300 new cases today. In terms of public officials, Governor DeSantis not expected to hold a conference today. He did yesterday. Let me give you a little bit more context for these numbers, though. 15,300 today, taking the state's total now to about 270,000. The biggest previous single-day high was California 4 days ago, around 11,600. New York in mid-March at its peak hit about 11,500. This is way above that. However, they did a lot more tests in this latest batch. There were 140,000 tests. So, Alex, if you look at the positivity rates here, they've actually been going down the last 4 days. It was 20.7% for the state several days ago. Then it was down to about 15. Yesterday's batch, 13.6%. So if you're going to take any silver lining out of the unbelievably off-the-charts staggering numbers we're reporting right now, it's the fact that a lower percentage of people across the state of Florida right now are testing positive. 2 points I'd like to make. One of them, behind me, you see Disney World. As these numbers are emerging, what a juxtaposition. They are allowing visitors back into the most popular theme and resort park in the entire country right now as cases are surging. Now, while the video that we're seeing coming out of Disney World at the moment is showing pretty small crowds, lots of social distancing, lots of markers, but still just the idea that things are opening up right now as the cases are exploding, definitely shocking some minds. The other is, look at the messaging that's going on in Florida with Governor DeSantis. What he is not talking about is mandatory masks or lockdowns. Compare that to Texas, which also just crossed 250,000 cases. The governor there, Greg Abbott, said both that he's thinking about a lockdown should this continue, and he has also required masks. So very different contrast in messaging in what state leaders are doing right now as these two states, Texas and Florida, are watching cases just absolutely skyrocket.
Yeah, which
Alex?
Actually, all of it kind of defies logic when you think about the science and the health risks of everybody who's not wearing a mask, not practicing social distancing. Quickly, Sam, how steady has the flow of traffic been into the entrance there to Disney World behind you?
You know, it's hard to gauge, Alex, simply because the way they have it structured here, this is the main entrance, but you got to go a mile or two into the complex to really get to some of the theme parks and resorts. It's very much removed. There's a lot of parking in the middle. Hard to say. Steady traffic. Today there's no rain. Yesterday it was pouring, so I would expect more numbers today than what we saw yesterday, but it hasn't been gangbusters from what we can tell. Thankfully so, given what's going on with the rate of transmission right now in Florida.
Okay, Sam Brock, thank you very much for that live report from a beleaguered Lake Buena Vista, Florida. Joining me right now, NBC News medical contributor Dr. Natalie Azar, with a welcome to you. I know we're going to talk about a number of things in a moment, but can you put these Florida numbers into perspective? Are you surprised? This jump in cases, wow, over 15,000 in a day. Come on.
Yeah, Alex, it's a lot. And there was a lot to unpack there in Sam's excellent reporting. I do want to highlight the silver lining, though, that the percentage positivity is going down, which is exactly what you want to see as more testing happens. But that number needs to get significantly lower. It needs to drop to below 5% before we can feel comfortable that Florida is going in the right direction. And just a point about the whole idea of this lockdown. Remember, this is a short-term fix. This is not a long-term solution, making the mandating of masks even more imperative for the state of Florida.
Okay, so you think masks would do it, a level of social distancing would help a lot, but can you compare this to that time when I remember you were working in New York City in a hospital? I know you even spent your birthday there in April, and this is when there was that shortage of ICU beds and ventilators. Things were so critical at that time. How can things turn around in Florida, Texas as well, like they did here in New York?
Well, I mean, all of that, by the way, that surge was happening, I think, in the midst of our relative shelter in place. So, I think for the states that are being hardest hit right now, most public health experts who've weighed in have said that nothing short of a temporary lockdown will probably do the trick, Alex. It's, as you use the proverbial genie out of the bottle numerous times, I think you're kind of going 2 steps forward and five steps back if you just start mandating masking now and social distancing. I think it's a little bit of a quicksand situation for those states right now. And I think, unfortunately, that those extreme measures might need to be enacted. Again, a short-term fix, and then retrying this experiment of reopening, doing it with the proper precautions in place. And right now, the Northeast is kind of a model of how that's working. I live in New Jersey. Our governor watches the metrics very, very carefully. We've kind of pulled back on certain aspects of our reopening when we saw numbers going up. You have to be ahead of this. You have to be ahead of this virus. We know just how challenging one it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, don't go too far. We're going to have you back in just a few minutes with an Arizona physician to talk about COVID in general and how things are going in that state, which is suffering right now as well. Thank you, Dr. Natalie.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.